gas leasing situation to benefit the landowners and benefit the community, benefit the ecology. We've been working on that steadily. There's been no time since 2008 that the leadership of SCLC has not been working diligently, regularly meeting and talking about the possibilities. Because there has always been possibilities. Even today, after the bad news we got from Governor Cuomo a few months ago, there's still a lot of hope. Don't despair. This is a situation where, right, we can't drill right now, and he says never, never, but in politics that isn't really the case. Sooner or later, our gas that we're sitting on right now will get developed. So I want to tell you just very briefly, who all is involved. We have the Steuben County Landowners Coalition. We're a bunch of volunteers. What we've done is we have an executive committee, and we have a coordinating committee that's quite large. We have representatives from all of the townships that are on that committee. We have a smaller group of people that meet regularly and use their own money. There isn't any money. Nobody's made any money. There isn't any income. This is a volunteer thing, and everybody is a volunteer. We're one group. What are we? Well, we've got about 220,000 acres that are signed up with us that we negotiate for. We have our negotiator, Ed Busick. Ed's standing back there with a suit coat on, right there. Ed lives down in Florida. He's a displaced New Yorker, upstate New Yorker, and does an outstanding job doing negotiations. He's helped us greatly with some gas line negotiations, that sort of thing. So also, you need to know that Jeff Heller is our president, and Jeff is up there. He is right there in the yellow stripe, black and yellow striped shirt. He's not in handcuffs, although he could be. And of course, you can't talk about Steuben Landowners Coalition without talking about Ken Knowles and his nephew Dana Knowles, who really were the guys who spearheaded the early development of this thing. Then we brought on Mary Hickey to do all of the paperwork, and this is Mary in the black over here. I think the black is fitting for the situation with the gas situation here. But at any rate, that's basically our leadership. We've got lots of other people that are involved, but we are still involved, and we're still talking to people. So that's the message from Steuben County Landowners Coalition. We are also members of the Joint Landowners Coalition in Binghamton, and the Joint Landowners Coalition is includes local county coalitions from all over the state. It's very large. Dan Fitzsimmons is our president. I don't know where Dan's around here somewhere. Well, I think he's out there doing his work. But Dan does a terrific job at the state level and keeps close tabs on what's happening in Albany. And that's been a very, very good organization, and our coalition has worked very closely hand in hand with them over the last number of years, and we will continue in the future. We have a number of people to talk to you, and these are the folks that we elected. We live in a representative democracy, right? We elect people who get together and they form laws that we all have to live by, right? In our area, we only have a few elected officials that go to Albany to represent us to make the decisions that come back and impact on us on a daily basis. They are our state senator and our state assemblyman. All right, you're going to be hearing from both of them in a few moments. We also have a congressman that goes to Washington and deals with all of the federal issues. You're going to be hearing from Congressman Tom Reed here in a few minutes. So it's important that we know that what we're doing today is we're going to be talking about some things that just aren't pie in the sky. These are things that are shared by your representatives that have been elected by the majority of people in our districts to represent us. Now, they've got a tough job in Albany. Don't feel animosity towards our representatives because they can't accomplish the things they'd like to accomplish. because we are a representative democracy, they go to Albany and they are met with a multitude of representatives that come out of areas that have no interest in whether or not we have our property rights, right? Okay, down New York City, you know, every 120,000 people, they get a representative that goes to Albany in the Assembly, okay? Holy cow, that's about one block, you know, down there, one big high-rise block of apartments. So we get to Albany, our representatives get to Albany and they get outvoted over and over by those people that are down in New York City, people that are in the cities of Buffalo, the cities of Syracuse, the cities of Albany, who really, they don't own land, they don't really get the landowner rights, and they really do think that people in the city should have some say in what we do with our land. That's something that they believe. We totally disagree with that. We think that only in the most important areas should they have some say over how we're going to use our lands. So that's the kind of thing that I want you to be listening to and listening for as we hear from our elected representatives. The first representative we're going to hear from is Tom O'Mara. Tom, could I ask you to come up? Where's Tom? There he is.
Thank you, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see we got a full house today. It's so important that we keep the pressure up on this issue. While things are certainly dire in Albany right now with the news we got on December 17th, that crushing blow to everyone in this room and so many others across my district. You know, my district goes from Hornell to Ithaca, includes Penn Yan and Dundee, Watkins Glen. So I have a pretty diverse district from including the city of Ithaca and areas close to and around the Finger Lakes that have been not really on board with the gas exploration business in New York State. I have been a strong supporter from the beginning. I believe that it presents a great opportunity to us in New York for our economy, which is something we desperately need. You know, the governor talks about these surplus funds we have and $1.5 billion that's going to upstate economic revitalization. You know, we've got an industry here that doesn't need any incentive, no cash dollars to encourage them to come in to our community, to set up businesses, to employ our citizens working in the gas industry. Yet the governor turns his nose on that with a decision of an acting health commissioner, Commissioner Zucker, really based on his fantasy family that he wouldn't want living next to or in the area where natural gas drilling was going on. Commissioner Zucker has no children, he has no family, yet he based a decision on those kinds of considerations. Well, I can tell you, I'm a father, have 3 children, we live in big flats, and I have no concerns whatsoever of living and raising my family in and around the industry of natural gas exploration, which I believe is the future of our country, and someday I believe will be the future of our state here in New York. It's forums like this that we're going to keep the pressure up on. You know, the list of all the committees that I was on was listed there, and the Environmental Conservation Committee, I've been named the chairman of that committee this year. I've been on that committee for the last few years, but now I'm the chairman of it and expect to have a much greater role and influence on policy in the state. During our budget review this year back in February, when we were questioning the department heads throughout the New York State agencies, Commissioner Martin came in and was being questioned by others, including myself, about, you know, now you've made this decision on natural gas exploration in New York, you know, what's next? What are our opportunities on when you finally get around to completing the SGIS, which we expect to be completed and handed up sometime soon for us to review, and you know, what the possibilities are going to be to then get around that. When are we going to be able to move forward in New York? When, because there's been no details explained by the Commissioner of Health that really made the decision. because the governor asked Commissioner Martens to kick it over to the Department of Health to have them review it, and when the commissioner said he thinks there's too many health risks involved, without citing any health risk other than there might be, there potentially could be, maybe, you know, a bunch of hypotheticals without any basis in science, which is what we're supposed to be basing this on. When the commissioner said no, he had health concerns over this, then it was kind of taken out of the commissioners of Environmental Conservation's hands to do anything further on it. I can tell you from my conversations with Commissioner Martens at DEC privately, and with the former commissioner of DEC, Pete Granis, who now works in the Comptroller's office. He was in the Assembly for years and years and years and headed the Environmental Conservation Committee, but he served as Environmental Conservation Commissioner for several years. Both of them personally, I don't believe, think that we can't responsibly do drilling in New York State. I believe in their heart of hearts they believe it can be done safely. We have a governor that's running the show and making every decision there. I think utilize an acting commissioner of health to make this decision in the 11th hour. When frankly the day before that decision was made, I was speaking to a group of businesses in Elmira, expecting and being hopeful that we were going to get a go-ahead decision, at least on a pilot basis in the southern tier of New York, so that we could move forward with it in New York. And if they have their concerns, which we all should have concerns about making sure we do things safely for our environment, if they have their concerns, do it in a pilot manner, in a limited scope, so that at least we can get started on it, and those that are actually involved in this scientific review in New York can study it firsthand, rather than taking things on hearsay from other states and not even really going out much to other states and even looking to what's going on. So, you know, when the SGIS comes out, hopefully shortly, that's, I think, is going to open up some other possibilities for legal action based on that. Hopefully, we find some success in those areas. I know Tom Reed's going to be here, our congressman, talking about his legislation he's proposing with regards to takings claims in this regard. And I'm hopeful that we're going to be able to get some action and move forward on some of these things and take action against either some of these laws in the state from the taking of your property. You know, we talked about New York City in the opening moments here, and you get an assembly seat of 120 to 130,000 members or constituents, and I have about 300,005 in a Senate district. In New York City, that doesn't take a whole geographic space up, and you've got a lot of tenants. They're not landowners, they're not property owners, and they don't understand property rights as far as land ownership goes, and the responsibility you have as landowners, and what the value of that is that is being taken from you with this decision not to move forward. You know, I got to say in closing here, I'm extremely encouraged to see so much strength and support here from labor. I thank you for being here. You know, that's an area that we can get at Governor Cuomo with. Governor Cuomo has taken on the public employees unions in this state over the past 5 years to a large extent. And he's doing it with our teachers right now. But he's been very cautious to stay away from the buildings trades unions and that labor side of it, separating public employment from the building trades unions that are out there. So we need to use this force as best we can, because he doesn't want to lose support from those types of unions. He's already lost a great deal of it from the public employees unions in that regard, but the the building trades, we need your support. It's very encouraging to see you all here today, and I look forward to continuing to work with you throughout the coming year, and as long as it takes to get the decision made that we can safely and responsibly move forward with gas exploration here in New York State, because it is, as I said, an industry that's not going to take $500 million to come in and provide incentives to an employer to do business here. They're going to come and they're going to employ people, and they're going to create the good jobs and the wealth that we need and deserve here across the southern tier. I got a question over here, I think.
Yes, you hit the nail right on the head. Dr. Zucker's report is being shredded in the scientific literature. So can't the Senate, the state Senate, do anything to investigate this report?
We are looking at those possibilities right now. We're waiting on the SGIS to come out and see exactly what they're going to base this decision on. But I believe the Commissioner Zucker's report was really based on thin air and nothing other than that. It was a foregone conclusion to what the governor wanted the outcome to be, as we've seen in so many other decisions that have been made in the state. It's very frustrating. This governor is a complete micromanager, doesn't even let his commissioners make their own decisions.
Why do you have to wait before the SCGI comes out, before you start an investigation? I mean, the report is garbage, you seem to know that.
Well, we are looking at that right now. We just got through the budget. We just finished the budget 2 weeks ago. That was our primary focus from the end of January until April 1st. So that's on our plate. That is what we're looking at. We expect the SGIS to be out very soon.
Yeah, well, this is big reset, but if you can, say that this report is nonsense, which it is.
Yes. I agree.
We're going to hold the...
Going to hold questions? Okay. All right, he doesn't want me to get into questions anymore, so. We are on. I got the hook.
Just a little bit about Tom before he speaks. You need to know, Tom's a local guy. He and his family before that, been in Corning folks for a long time. Tom's one of 12 children, knows what it's like to grow up in the big family. He attended All Saints Academy in Corning, East High School. He went on to Alfred University, where he's a political science major, and graduated with a law degree from Ohio Northern Law School. After establishing a very successful law practice in Corning, Tom became mayor of the city of Corning, and then became congressman. Now, Tom,
well, that's plenty. We don't need to go. Get out of here, John.
all right.
I love this guy. This guy's a great guy.
I give you Tom Reed.
Well, good afternoon. What a beautiful day today. I thought, I dressed with a jacket on. I'm all set to go outside. We come to Indian Hills and we're inside. So the golf course is open, as I saw some friends who were coming into the parking lot as I arrived. But I am so humbled by the amount of people that are in this room. This is a 70-degree weather day in Western New York. We don't get too many of them, and I'm sure you have many other things to do other than to come here. But I have to tell you, this is a testament to you and to the issue that's at hand. When I was watching that press conference of our esteemed governor, who I sometimes use the term King Cuomo from Albany, and I watched the whole press conference on the issue of whether or not he was going to allow us to utilize our land and develop natural gas here in the state of New York. And it became obvious to me after about a half hour, 40 minutes of watching that press conference. It was all about politics. It was all about politics at the end of the day. It wasn't about us. So, when I left that afternoon and was talking to some of our folks at the office and returning back to Washington, D.C., I said, there's got to be something we can do. And you know what I did? I went back to our founding documents and I went to the United States Constitution and I read it again. And right there in the Fifth Amendment, it jumped out at me. What it says in the Fifth Amendment, if the government's going to take our property, at least what they have to do is compensate it for taking that property. Now, I would love to see us be able to develop the natural gas, to be able to use the mineral resources that are under our land, but obviously, King Cuomo and the powers to be in Albany have decided otherwise. When we got back to D.C., I looked at that Fifth Amendment and I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to drop legislation to lead the nation, because it's not just about natural gas here in the state of New York. This is about a government, in my opinion, that has grown bigger and bigger and bigger every day. Every day, there's another government action that infringes upon one of our fundamental freedoms in this great nation. And that is the freedom to own and use and enjoy our own property. And so we came up with the legislation, the Defense of Property Rights Act, and we dropped it in the hopper. Some people scoffed at us. Some people laughed at us. Some people wrote editorials saying, oh my goodness, this is an extremist, this is something that's crazy. And what I just did is I looked them in the eye and I said, you know what, do you think it's unreasonable to just say to people, if we're gonna take your property as a government, we're gonna compensate you for it. To me, it's a fair thing to do. And I'll tell you, I've gotten into so many conversations now since we started this process, and when you really get into the debate, at the end of the day, I've had some of the farthest left-leaning individuals at our town halls go, I see what you're trying to do. I can respect that. So it's incumbent upon us to take this message and go around our communities and say, enough is enough, and help us get this Defense of Property Rights Act across the finish line. Because at the end of the day, it's about your property, not about the government. It's about you being able to use the property that you own, that you maintain, that you pay taxes on, and that you enhance and protect. And at the end of the day, I will always side with you as individuals because I believe in you rather than having the government always be in that nanny state that tells us how we're supposed to live our life. A couple more points. So please help us with the Defense of Property Rights Act. But one of the things I wanted to touch on too today is I look at the individuals in the back of the room with the yellow, green, neon colored shirts and other folks that are here. This isn't just about property rights, and this is what I don't think they get in Albany. When I travel around the country and I see the energy rebirth and the energy renaissance that's going on, when I go to North Dakota and I go into the local Taco Bell, and they tell me that the frontline worker there starts at a starting wage. Does anybody have any idea what the starting wage for a frontline Taco Bell person takes your order? $18 an hour. $18 an hour. You got 0% unemployment essentially. When I go into a home in the northern tier of Pennsylvania, invited by an anti-fracking individual and say, you don't understand, Congressman, what they've done to my land. You don't understand how devastating this is. You'll never come see it. Now, you know me. I'll talk to anybody. I got 11 older brothers and sisters. So when I came, I took them up on it. And we go to their family farm, and I'm sitting in this young lady's kitchen that she grew up in, and she lives up in Tompkins County now. And we're sitting there. And she's trying to tell me all the evils and everything else. But you know what happened? Her father walks in and goes, Congressman. I go, oh, it's always Tom. And he's like, let me tell you. He goes, I know she's adamantly opposed to this. But here's a glass of water. He poured it out of his faucet. We had a glass of water. We were fine. Nothing happened. Well, maybe something happened. Some people think maybe something happened. But I don't think so. I think I'm fine. My wife and kids think I'm fine. And he said something that resonated with me. And this is something I think they forget in DC and Albany also. And this is a farm that's been in the family for generations. Because I'm getting a royalty check. Yeah, that well pad out there, it was disrupted for 6 months, 9 months. There was trucks coming back and forth, and all that economic activity and everything associated with it, and the disruption that comes with it. But now we get one every couple of other days, and it's here. But every month I get a royalty check. And guess what I do with that check, Tom? I'm paying her kids' college tuition with that check. Think about that. I went back to Washington, D.C., and I said, we have spent trillions of dollars in Washington, D.C. on the war on poverty, and here is a grandfather using his parents' farm that he owned, that he maintained, that he nurtured, and is using the rights that are in that property to give his grandchildren a college education for nothing to that child. You talk about being successful. And I share that story because that's what this represents. This is about your property. This is about economic opportunity. This is about jobs. This is about being able to use our land and our farms so that they stay as farms and a way of life that we love and that we want to pass on to the next generation. And then one final point. As I look at the Middle East, and I can tell you, I have had some, I was just in the intelligence skiff last week, where it's when we go down in the bowels of the Capitol. It's, you know, it's not like what you see on TV, but you're in a place where, you know, you're secure and then you can have some very candid conversations. There's some bad things going on in the world right now. And when I look at the Middle East that's in flames, when I look at Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, all the issues that are going on over there. And then I go and pay my gas, coming back here 2 nights ago from DC, because I drive back and forth every week, and I fill it up and it's about $2.45 a gallon. They don't connect the dots. Because I can assure you, if we had not developed natural resources like oil and natural gas and hydraulic fracturing across America, regardless of what state of New York decided to do, if we had followed King Cuomo's lead and done this across the entire nation, our men and women in the military would be over in Iraq, Iran, Syria right now, shedding American blood from our mothers, our fathers, our brothers and our sisters and our sons and daughters. But because we did this, we're not doing that. So every time they throw something in your face about some environmental catastrophe that's going to come as a result of this issue, say, you know what? I live in America. And when King Cuomo said after 7 years, when he adopted a moratorium, the best answer he could come up with is, this is too hard. This is too hard. We don't know how this is going to figure out. We don't live in a no, we can't country. We live in a yes, we can country. So I believe this can be done safely. I believe this can be done responsibly. And that's the leadership that we're going to bring to Washington, D.C. and across this country as we go forward, because this is an issue that's fundamental to our nation. It's fundamental to our Constitution. It's fundamental to our God-given rights as American, that our property should be utilized the way that we want it to be utilized, rather than some bureaucrats, some elected official in Washington or Albany saying, you know what, you're too stupid. We're going to figure out and tell you how you're going to use your land. Well, enough is enough. Join us in the fight on the Defense of Property Rights Act, and I assure you I'm going to join with you to create the jobs of today and tomorrow and make sure that we do everything we can so that we don't have to put our men and women in harm's way because of energy ever again. God bless. Let's keep up the fight and join us in this fight.
Bill went to Hornell High School, which was kind of an enemy of Corning Free Academy back when I was in school. But he went to St. Bonaventures and graduated with a political science degree. He worked 15 years for some other very, very respected officials. Don Davidson, Jim Bacalus, Randy Cool, George Winter. And then after serving in the Steuben County legislature himself, he was elected to the 132nd Assembly District. Now, Phil's a ranking minority member of the Energy Committee, also serves on the Real Property Taxation Committee, along with a lot of other duties in Albany. So I give you Assemblyman Phil Palmisano.
Thank you. It's certainly a privilege to be here, and thank you for all of you coming out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon to show your support, your continued support. And believe me, that's important, and that's helpful to us. Before I get started, I just kind of wanted to first point out to say to Kenny Knowles and Neil Vitale and the Steuben County Landowners Association. I first met with them several years ago when I was running. Actually, I was at the county legislature working for George Winter, and I didn't think we'd be here 6 years later, still trying to fight to be able to get the natural resources we have right underneath our feet. So with Kenny, Neil, you guys have been good friends, and we certainly appreciate all you've been doing here in the area, and certainly Jeff with the Joint Landowners Coalition. We really appreciate it. I don't know if you knew that around the budget time we debated a resolution in our House. Governor Cuomo was going to do a mission to Cuba, and talking about opening up trade and things of that nature. And I said we got into a very heated debate on the floor, and it was kind of mind-boggling to me. What I said, and have said continually, maybe before he goes to Cuba, he should come down to the Southern Tier to talk to you people and to talk to people here in this area. To see what his policies have been doing, would have hindered, would have hurt you landowners, would have hurt business development and job creation here, would has hurt our ability to be more energy independent. He should be coming here and talking and saying, what's my plan? You know, I watched that press conference too, and it was laughable when the Department of Health Commissioner and the DEC Commissioner were talking, and Governor Cuomo said, well, this is up to them. And that was the biggest bunch of bull I received, because this governor has so much control. Everything is about control with this governor. I don't care what program it talks about. It's always about control. And he knew what that decision was going to be, and he had a hand on that decision, and that decision was not based on science. That decision was based purely on politics. And we know that, and you know, when this SGIS comes out, when we can start challenging some of the technical things, the things that aren't out there, we'll continue to do that. But this was a purely political decision. Don't let anyone kid you. And I know you're not fooled by that. But that press conference really angered me, angered a lot of my colleagues, and I know it angered a lot of you. But think about the opportunities we have if we open up natural gas exploration here in the Southern Tier and across our state. Thank you. But the governor doesn't want to do that. He wants to control everything. You saw the report that came out recently, his brand new Startup New York program that he runs hundreds of millions of dollars in commercials. $53 million in your money for 76 jobs. That conveniently came out after the budget. You know, they released it after the budget. And you know, you have all these other funds that he wants to control who wins and have the Hunger Games competition and competing region against region. Well, here's an industry that can be right here in our backyard, that can provide good paying jobs for families. Talk about revenue to our school districts and our municipalities, because in New York we have an ad valorem tax system. So that money goes right into the local community where the activity is taking place. Tom and Omer and Tom Reed talk about it all the time. Manufacturing, this would revitalize our manufacturing industry in New York State, because the ability to access low-cost power and power right at our own hands. The former commissioner of DEC, Pete Granis, I remember I was a staff person for George Winter at the time. And you remember the first SGIS came out when they weren't going to actually ban drilling in the New York City watershed and up in the Syracuse watershed. They were going to make it much more difficult for the process to happen. And they questioned him about that. Why don't you just do a ban? He goes, listen, if you want to make things tougher, make more stringent requirements, that's one thing. But if you outright ban the activity, that's when you're talking about people's personal property rights, their mineral rights. He understood that. Tom Reed understands that. And that's why, Tom, we all want to commend you on your leadership on this bill. It's a great thing, and that's going to continue to put the pressure on. But his response was, if we ban an activity, get out the checkbook. So they should get out the checkbook. Probably get a better return on the Startup New York ads, that's for sure. But if he understood that, we understand it, that's going to be a message that keeps coming up. And another thing I want to talk about, because I know New York City's brought up a lot, and a couple years ago I had a few of my colleagues in New York City, 4 New York City Assembly Democrats come up to our area, but we also brought some upstate guys down to the city. And we had the opportunity to meet with Scott Stringer, who's now, at the time when he was just elected the comptroller of New York City. We met with him, and then we met with the staff. And the staff came in with this proposal, and one of his proposals was to ban fracking. So he went through this whole proposal about things they want to do, and one of the things, and I was sitting there listening, and my colleagues were kind of looking at me because they saw my face kind of getting red. And one of the things they want to do is, one of their big plans was to convert oil boilers. And he goes, we got this big initiative, we're going to convert oil boilers. And I kind of raised my hand. He goes, yeah, what? And they go, what are you going to convert them to? What are you going to use? He goes, well, natural gas. I go, what was that, natural gas? He goes, yeah. I go, doesn't that sound, he goes, a little hypocritical? I go, yeah. He goes, well, it's a little hypocritical. No, I go, no, it's a lot hypocritical. And then the housing people down there, in the housing apartment complexes, and they're talking about how, the rents are so high and the utility costs are so high, and they were complaining about their energy bills. And then after the conversation, they told us all their problems. They said, well, you're not for that fracking thing, are you? I go, absolutely I am. He goes, well, why is that? I can't believe you support it. I go, 10 minutes ago, you were talking about how high your utility bills are. You know, what do you heat with? Natural gas. He goes, by bringing in natural gas, that's going to be a benefit to you. You want the benefit of what's happening, but you don't want to get it. I don't understand the mentality. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me. And someone made a comment about how New York City thinks everything's in their prerogative. I remembered I was a staffer for George Winter many years ago, and I was at a hearing that they were doing, and there were some people from New York City testifying. And this one person said, we have to. Upstate New York is New York City's backyard, and we have to protect our backyard. And I looked at the person, I go, are you kidding me? Is that not just a statement of arrogance? Upstate New York is New York City's backyard. That's what these people think. It's really frustrating, don't get me wrong, but we're going to keep fighting. And we're going to keep fighting for you because it's the right thing to do, and we need you to keep fighting because at the end of the day, the science is going to come out. The science is out. It's just finally we're going to get someone to realize it, whether it takes through the court action or whatever it takes. But we're not done fighting on this because once we tap this natural resource here in our backyard, we're going to revitalize our southern tier economy and the economy across the state. We're going to add jobs, thousands and thousands upon jobs, so families will stay here and keep their families here so they can grow here. We're going to bring needed revenue into our school districts and municipalities. We're going to help ourselves become more energy independent. And most importantly, too, we're going to help you, the landowner, to be able to tap the resources under your land, under your feet, the right that you have that's given to you, in my opinion, under the Constitution. And we're going to keep fighting for you. So you keep fighting, we'll keep fighting with you. And thank you for doing this, and we look forward to continuing this fight as we move forward. So thank you very much.
He's a committed friend and champion for responsible natural gas development in New York. That's his statement. But this is what he wants me to tell you. He says, this meeting is an unfortunate reminder of the failed policies for upstate New York of our governor and his political aspirations that color all his decisions. King Andrew, who sits on his throne from the Capitol, watching as he dangles rewards to predetermined winners in rigged Hunger Games style competitions that justify spoils to preferred winners at the peril of the already condemned losers. I would like nothing better than to be working on improving the state's economic potential to strengthen our families rather than fighting to keep from going further into economic oblivion. I wish that we would be meeting to plan for growth in the future rather than fighting to preserve our natural property rights. We're sitting on an economic bonanza that has already radically transformed our neighbors' farms, towns, and communities in Pennsylvania for the better. There's no sign or evidence of the threatened disasters that the anti-fossil fuel scaremongers cry about. Cuomo politics is stealing that opportunity from us for his own personal ambitions. The property rights guaranteed to you as landowners by the constitutions of the United States and the nation have been arbitrarily and capriciously taken. I fully support the protections and compensation proposals that Congressman Reed has outlined. It may be possible that adding a specific cost rather than a lost opportunity cost to a decision will make a difference. But then when did logic and valid economic principles ever prevail in politics? I am just as frustrated as the landowner who explained to me that he has farmed and looked after his land for his family, assuming that he was the owner. But now it seems that he is only a tenant of a liege lord who rules from Albany. I'm sorry that I was not able to join you in person, but I am with you all the way in purpose and will do all I can to support the realization of responsible natural gas development for each of our families and future. Sincerely, Christopher S. Friend, PhD.
I'm Stephen Payne, a proud member of the Laborers Union. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Southern Tier Building Trades, their members as being the electricians, operating engineers, the laborers, the roofers, the painters, the plumbers, iron workers, sheet metal workers, and the masons. And Scott's here representing the carpenters. I'd like a minute of your time to speak about the importance of local jobs for local workers. When our workers construct buildings, highways, bridges, and pipelines, we take great pride in doing so. When out-of-town workers come in, workmanship and pride is not their priority. Their priority is about sending a paycheck back home. Once this money leaves the area, it is gone for good. The money that is earned here by our members is spent here 4 times over. Our local workers construct with the highest regard to safety. We live and work here. Our children play and go to school here. I am a federal OSHA safety instructor. Every one of our members must have a 10 or a 30-hour OSHA safety course before they're sent to work. You'll love this, I'm brief. I'd like to introduce Brett Kraslavsky. He's one of our members, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, fellow brothers and sisters in the trades, fellow New Yorkers. Today we stand together as one in support of local jobs for local people for the upstate region of New York State. As I look around today, the upstate region of New York has been left out in the cold. Families who are struggling to put food on the table for their children, and while others struggle just to pay their rent to survive. Many of us look to our representatives for answers. However, we continue to hear the failed promises from them time and time again. It is not a game to provide people with hope and to shatter their dreams after elections. People will follow courage over titles, and I caution our representatives all over the state with providing our citizens with false hope. The extreme climate of high taxes and numerous amounts of regulations are driving our major industries and small businesses out of our state. More than ever, our state and our nation needs leaders, not representatives. Leaders who will be the first ones to charge up that hill and be willing to take the fight to Albany and to Washington. Leaders who will take a stand for the hardworking men and women of this country, the men and women who built this nation, and the ones who drive our local and national economic conditions. This state and this nation depends on that working class of Americans. The income inequality gap continues to grow, and we can no longer head down the path of destruction. We must take a stand for local jobs, for local people. We must stand against politicians who seek to divide us. Always remember that there is no left, there is no right, there is only an up or down. I call upon you today to send a message to our representatives and to Governor Cuomo that we pay our fair share of taxes, and now it's time that we receive our fair share. Thank you for your time.
Very well put. Thank you so much for that. One of the things that that Congressman Reed suggested to me just now is that, there are some things that we can do. People are asking, what can we do? What can we do? Right now, we all can talk to our elected officials at the local level. Every town has a town board. Every county has a county legislature. We should be talking to our county officials, our town officials, and asking each municipality to pass a resolution favoring the various activities that we need to move our program forward.
And I live about 20 miles northeast of Binghamton, and I thought, well, we'll probably give you an award for coming the furthest distance. Well, we're sitting in the parking lot waiting for our members to show up, all the guys in the bright green shirts out here. And this couple comes up to us, and they're from Sullivan County. You beat me, so you're going to get the award for coming the furthest. Give them a hand. I've been a member of the Carpenters Union for 33 years, and for about the last 20, I've been representing the members. All right? Right now, our jurisdiction goes from like Delhi in Delaware County to Hornell in Steuben County. We go from the Pennsylvania border to the Canadian border. It's the heart of the Marcellus Shale area. All right, it means jobs for our members. All right, and people think, what do carpenters do with gas drones? Well, yeah, we build the compression stations, but if we have gas, it means we're going to be building power plants. All right? When there's gas development like in Pennsylvania, I mean, you see what Athens and Sayre, how much that has grown? Look how much building's gone on down there. That's work for our members. At one time, we had over 100 of our members working in the gas-related industry down in Pennsylvania. It means jobs, it means paychecks. And like I said, the last 20 years I've been representing the members. On Thursday, I had to do something for the very first time. All right? Daily, I'm getting calls from our members saying, I'm almost out of unemployment. What do I do? Is there a job you can send me to? Anything, a day, I'll go anywhere. So we had to call our members up, and you know, they were unemployed. We brought them into our office, and we said, look, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Many of our guys haven't worked since September. Everything is dried up in New York State. You know, we thought maybe by now we'd be building casinos, but the same day that, you know, we didn't get a casino in Tioga County, the fracking got banned. We believed, we were promised, or we at least thought we had a commitment, that after the elections, in you know, the spring of 2015, you would see some type of fracking activity, at least in the southern tier. No, no. So as our members sit home unemployed and about ready to run out of their unemployment, you know, where are the jobs, Governor Cuomo? It's the southern tier. You forgot us. I'm sorry. Lago, the new casino they're going to build up in north of the Thruway, how can you consider that the southern tier? You know, we need these gas-related jobs. We have carpenters coming into our offices daily who are not represented by us, asking us, do you have jobs? You know, can I become a member? Where's the work? I've worked for 10 years straight, but you know, haven't worked in over 6 months. It's bad. These jobs are needed. And you know, we don't need them 2 years from now or 10 years from now. We need them today. So we're here to support the landowners in any way we can. We had a fantastic turnout in Binghamton in January. It's a great turnout down here today. We got to keep the momentum going. Whether we do it in Norwich, whether we do it in Roscoe, whether we do it in Elmira. I think we have to do one in Ithaca, actually. I think that'd be kind of fun.
I'm going with you.
Let's go. Oh, wait a minute. Senator O'Meara and Congressman Reed, you hit something at home. My wife and I have been touring colleges lately. Our daughter got accepted to Syracuse University. We are landowners. We could use a little help here. Hey, thank you for everybody coming out today. You know, these elected officials that are speaking, you know, they're our friends. They're working with us, they're trying to help us. So let's give them a round of applause.
I give you Doug McClinkle.
Thank you. That man right there spoke the truth. Take no issue with Congressman Reed. He actually came down and spent a day with us. It was a great day. And I don't know the rest of the elected officials here, but before I get started, I think you came down too. Yep. And the Carpenters Union looking for work. And sit tight, guys. We're going to have some work because sooner or later we're going to have to develop this natural gas as a nation. What he said is true. What gets politicians' attention? Throwing them out of office, raising money, finding pro-energy candidates to run against them. You know, it's one thing to sit down here with a bunch of people that want to hear what you're going to say. It's another thing to go to Albany or Harrisburg and fight. My question is, if you aren't going to fight for tax-paying property owners, who the hell are you going to fight for? You know, we come up to New York State all the time, and I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you're doing. You actually kind of had me do something I never thought I'd do in my life, was we do pickup truck tours. We did it with you folks. We did it with a congressman. We do it with anybody. NPR, Smog Blog, they come down to Bradford County. They're not going to get an industry tour. They're going to get a pickup tour with me, and they're going to see whatever they want to see. I had Al Jazeera TV in Bradford County because of you guys, because you wanted to succeed from New York State and join us. Well, I got a little news for you. If Governor Wolf gets his way in Pennsylvania and taxes the industry and knocks more rigs down because of natural gas prices and what are, let's start the 51st state. How about Tom, how about you be our governor, huh? Can I get somebody to come hold this map up, please? Anybody come? Maybe you can walk around the room a little bit.
Okay, sure. Man or wife, there you go.
I'm proud of that map. What that map represents is Bradford County. You say that, you know, when we go to Albany, they say, well, we gotta learn more. What do we gotta learn more about? We need to learn how to develop it responsibly. Look at that color. That is a county that's getting fully developed. You know, there's almost 2,000 wells that are developed and permitted. There's 1,000 miles of gathering line. There's 50-some miles of interstate line that's been looped. There's 100 fresh water impoundments. There's 50 freshwater withdrawals. There's countless amount of compressor stations that you guys are down there building. There's a 800 meg power plant that you guys are down there building. We're getting skilled labor down there to get it done right. $1 billion investment into our county. $1 billion. You guys are seeing it. You know, we get tired of Cuomo, and I'll tell you why. We don't call him King. We got to call him C-O-M-M-I-E. Sorry. Because what he's doing is wrong. What he's doing is, you know, this isn't about a county, or it isn't about a region, or it's not about a state. It's about the United States of America. And what this guy's doing, in my opinion, is unpatriotic. You know, how many vets do we have in the audience? God bless you, and thank you guys very much. Could you imagine if we said to the mullahs over in Iran, you know what, unlike our president and Cuomo, we're not going to bow, and we're not going to negotiate with terrorists, but here's what we're going to do. We got some weapons we're going to fire at you. It's called the Marcellus, it's called the Balkans, it's called the Fayetteville, it's called the Barnett Shales, it's called energy. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to hit you right in your pocket. And you're not going to be able to afford to build those IEDs or blowing our kids up. That's what we're going to do. But yet we got a governor up here that decides to play politics with it. You know, elected officials, I challenge you guys, how about if we open up every speech that you guys do with this? How about every time? Not one time in the history of hydrofracturing over 50 years, not one time has a freshwater supply ever been affected. Not once. Never. How about we start doing that? How about we open our speeches with that? I don't want to hear from them, well, you know, we got people we represent and all that. You know what? Baloney. I went down to Bethlehem where the Penn East Pipeline is going to go through their counties, down there in Allentown. We're in their junior college. And there was probably 300 of my best friend unions were represented there. But antis. You know how many elected officials were there? 1 billion cubic feet of gas a day out of Marcellus to go down into New Jersey under the Delaware River. 1 billion cubic feet a day. That's 1 billion cubic feet that you guys can come down and work when they put the rigs back up, when the prices get back. You know how many elected officials were there? Douglas. That's it. You know, and you stand there and you talk about the good news of energy, and you tell these people what it means to families, what it means to workers, what it means to the kitchen table of every home in Bradford County, Pennsylvania, Marcellus, and even Southern Tier, New York State, where Cuomo enjoyed the highest tax revenue that you guys have seen, you know, as you guys fortunately had sales tax and stuff down in our counties in Tioga, Susquehanna, and Bradford. And God bless you. Don't forget, we're more than your neighbors. We shop in New York State. Bradford County is a few miles down the road here. You know, we border the Triple Cities over there too. You know, I ordered a snowplow. You know where I ordered from? Buffalo. This is insane, and this is why you folks got to keep the fight up. Here's some of the things that we've done, and this is the good news. You know what? The answer to our debt in our finances in our country and our community is right under our feet. It is the most insane thing I've ever seen. And I guess I got a question for Yoko and all those folks that heat their homes and their apartments down in Manhattan, how they heat them. But more importantly, where are they going to get the energy to build the solar panels and the windmills? Where are they going to get the energy to do that? It's got to come down to fuel-based stuff, coal. Yes, coal, gas, oil, all of it. Here's what we did in our county. We cut our taxes, eliminated all of our county debt from natural resources. You want to talk about jobs and growth, you're right. We put $200 million of new value in our county through growth, through hotels, and through $1 billion power plant. And there's another one wants to look to come down there. I mean, this is insane. We like having you folks come down and work. This, again, isn't about a county or a state. It's about what that flag represents as us. We put billions of dollars into the state government under Marcellus in the baby years. Bradford County is the #1 developed county in the state of Pennsylvania, and we are proud that we put most gas into our country at the time our country needs it the most. Billions of dollars. I mean, I look across the border and I look at Cuomo and I think to myself, what in the hell is this guy thinking? We really, and we don't take, the joke is, well, if they keep it up there, the Driggs will stay down there. No, I want my family and my neighbors to be able to come up here and go to work too. Like we want you to be able to come down there and go to work. They put in this nonsense about they destroy the area. Again, if there's a lot of problems in natural gas development, why isn't our county on the news every night? Look at the color. And by the way, the red, which is the gold standard, which is a company that does business right here in New York State, puts $11 million a month in our economy. $11 million. The red, that's not the biggest developer. We've seen over $300 million of full depth reclamations put into our roads. That's stuff our township supervisors can't do. That's money the state didn't have to spend. Oh, by the way, there's already a state and a federal structure of taxes that you can already fill up through $11 million in property tax, and because you're putting new growth in new buildings. $200 million we've seen. Income tax that flows to Washington. And unfortunately, after the 15th, I hope you really get down and get rid of the IRS. But, it goes to Washington, and goes to Harrisburg, could go to Albany. Liquid fuels taxes through all this. Are you kidding me? This is a blessing from God himself, given to our country at a time we need it most. It's the answer to our local finances. Isn't energy the new foreign policy? We can hit these people right where it hurts, right in the wallet. We have 36,000 parcels of property in Bradford County. We're the second largest geographically sized county in the state, 36,000. Half of those are 1 acre and under. 70% of our people live on 10 acres or under. 70%. This affects every retired person that, guess what, now maybe not get chased out into a senior citizen home because they can't afford to stay in their own home because of high taxes and high heating fuel. This is people that can afford to send their kids to college. 1 acre and under is half, 10 acres and under is 70%. It is incredible. So, and the thing is the prosperity is just unbelievable. You want to talk about jobs? Natural gas is going towards historic lows again. We're still at 4.7%, 4.75% unemployment. That was 2 weeks ago. 4.75%. Go across the border in New York State, what are you guys at? Are we losing our minds as a country? Yes. We talk about, and then the environmentalists, whatever. Look at this. There has never been anything to save family farms better than natural gas, and I'm sure oil up in the Balkans. Anything. Our subdivisions in our county are at 0. What does that mean? They're not busting apart the family farms to keep them. If they subdivide it right now, it's to give their kids a place to live when they come back home. We're seeing our farms grow again. Hey, our crops are just as important as everybody else's, whether it's New York State or Ohio or anywhere else. And it is being developed safely. And I apologize, I wrote stuff down, I didn't quite know what you guys wanted to talk about today. But again, and I'll go over it again, if I just challenge all the elected officials here that speak at town halls and across, tell them the truth. There's never been EPA and DEP in Pennsylvania, not one confirmed contamination from hydrofracturing in a freshwater supply, not one time. Cuts the knees off from them. And that's over 50 years of hydrofracturing, and they've done it in New York State. They hydrofracture freshwater wells. Are we losing our minds? And this is where I applaud you people. We saw that you wanted to pull away. We are really excited because we need fighters. We need people to throw guys and gals out of office that won't stand up for American jobs and American energy when we need it. We need to plug people in that are going to stand it, that are going to stand for it. We need to make sure that what people say here, when they go to Albany or to Harrisburg, they're saying the same thing. We need to see elected officials go where there's protesters and go right in there and kind of, if I tick off and stream environmentalists, it's a damn good day for Doug. I got to be honest with you. I'm sure it is for you too. But again, this is a new foreign policy. It is new national security. And we can take on the Middle East right where we need it. And for Iran, who wants to blow our best friends up in the Middle East, Israel, what if we compete with them on the world marketplace and we send those bullets in called the shale energy? And oh, by the way, Saudi-led OPEC has declared war on shale energy in America. I'm sure the congressman knows that. They publicly said they want to bankrupt shale energy companies in America. That's where, look, our families are paying too much for energy. In Bradford County, if you can't cut wood or carry coal, you're burning fuel oil. Because natural gas is only in the boroughs. And it's killing families and seniors. But where's everybody talking about it? What are they doing about it? In Bradford County, we're kind of like a pack of dogs. We travel in packs when we go to Harrisburg. We go to the governor's office. We're going to tell you, if you're going to tax the industry, which this governor is probably going to hurt it. The last impact fee, which was a few years ago, there was a 20% rig deduction the day after they did it. 20%, and that was with good gas prices. So don't appease the liberal left up here and say, well, we'll give you a little tax. No, we're not going to give you tax. We're going to give you jobs. We're going to let people have royalties, and they're going to spend it on strengthening their farms, or sending their kids to college, or putting the roofs on their barns, or their homes. And you don't do that over the internet. That stuff is being bought in our shops, in our local stores. And they pay taxes on it that's already in place. So I'll just close, and they said we might have some time for some questions. I'd be happy to answer any of them. And I appreciate you guys coming down. I appreciate you coming down. I've gone to Albany, I've gone to Buffalo, I've met a lot of you people because I believe in energy. In the last 8 years, I have never seen such a blessing in my life as right across the border. I will go wherever it needs that I can talk about the good news of it, but everywhere I go, I always invite people to come on a pickup truck tour. He took me up on it. He took me up on it. We've been publicly in Albany asking your governor to come down. Any other, I don't understand how your state representatives go. You come down, we'll go. And what do you want to go see? That's what we want to go see. You want to stop and talk to a farmer? Stop and talk to a farmer. You want to go see a hydrofracture, which is the smallest part of a whole development, which just blows my mind. We'll go look at it. Want to see a drill? We'll go see a drill. You want to talk to people who's employing, their families employed in the gas industry? We'll go talk to them. We'll find out what it means to them. We'll find out what it affects every kitchen table in our county and across it. Do you know there's some of the biggest wells in the world in Susquehanna County? You know that? Marcellus is the second largest gas field in the world. And I know you're beating it to death, but you got a governor that's playing games with it. If there was a spigot that we could turn off into Manhattan for a day, I think maybe they'd change the tune. I'm running for the election down there, and we have a website. Everybody's got a website. I'm not an internet guy. I'm a worker guy. I got out of high school. Unfortunately, I didn't go in the military, and I thank you. You knew my dad. I was why I'm not happy about that. But I got out of school and went to work. We've run trucking businesses, restaurant businesses, and everything down there. We've had ups and downs and good years and bad years. And if you go on the internet, you'll know my bad years because they smear me with them every time I run. But I've never seen such prosperity and growth, real stuff. It's what's come from energy development. And you know what? As we go across, and I'm sure the congressman will tell you, we work with county commissioners all across the United States. They are the nicest people. Energy people, true energy, not out of one side of your mouth, the other side of your mouth, but people who believe in energy, believe in jobs and growth and community, and they're there. So thank you very much for inviting me up. And we have the website, DougMcClinko.com. Go watch us, whatever we're doing down there. We appreciate knowing being in Bradford County. Tell them get on the boat. Keep this guy in office. He's good stuff.
Thank everybody for coming out today. I think this was a really good meeting. I want to also thank everybody for our speakers. Doug McClinko from Pennsylvania has actually gone to Albany with us now several times, and I'd love to get up there more with him. Some of the things that we have out there on the table we really need your support with, and that is these letters to be signed. We need numbers, and we need to get them filled out for Tom Reed's bill, for all of our property rights. The other one is for the propane facility in Watkins Glen. We need that one too. You can take some of these and take them home, get your other relatives and people that weren't here today to sign them. There are addresses on them to send them back to. Please do that. We need this support, we need to get these things filled out and get them in. There are buttons that we've got out there, and I know the coalition has some of them too that we picked up. These buttons are very important. Save these, keep them. When you go to town meetings or you go to any kind of a meeting, wear them. Because I'll tell you, these town meetings, a lot of times people don't know who you are. They don't know who you support. The antis will do things in ways to make it look like you're with them. So we made up a few thousand of these. We're trying to get them out, hang on to them, wear them to those town meetings and to any events where natural gas is being brought up. These bumper stickers and the whole thing of succession. I don't know if a lot of you realize, we try to get it up on the website as much as we can. This thing has gone nationwide. It is incredible. Had phone calls from people in Florida, Texas, California, calling up members of my coalition and saying, oh my gosh, you know, we saw you guys are on the news. Conklin, New York, wants to leave New York State. Windsor, some of these towns. This sends a great message out for Como when people start seeing these on the back of cars or tractors or golf carts. I gave some to the fellows here to put them on the golf carts. But it does send a great message. It's something Como really doesn't like. You know, this is the new Berlin, and we really are. On one side of the border, you can look, see prosperity and all kinds of great things going on. Step over a couple feet, and you get to see where there's nothing. We don't have jobs. We're losing our properties. The taxes are way too high. It's incredible. This state is 50th in property taxes, job losses, people leaving. New York State has gone downhill so bad. It is just incredible. And a lot of stuff, these things we've been getting up on our website. Go to the JLC website, please. There's cards out there on the table. Sign up for the newsletters so that when we do take actions, you can get them quickly. We have to sometimes respond to different things, and we need your support. We have to keep fighting in this battle. It's been tough. I know I've been playing with it now for 6 years, and it's just something I'm not going to give up. We need this. My family needs it. I have 185 acres. It's a life-changing thing for my family and would be. And it's not right that our mineral rights can be taken away, especially for political reasons. On our website, we also have videos, and this meeting will be videoed and it'll be put up on the website. We also have some radio shows that we've been doing with different professors from Co.Land, also with Dr. Them, which is he works at Guthrie Clinic. You can listen to these radio shows in their entirety. It's under JLC United Hits the Air. We put it right up on the left-hand side, and I'm telling you, the videos and things, it's a great video library we're putting together, very educational, something that you can get out to anybody that hasn't seen things, doesn't know what's really going on. Send them there, let them look at these things. They need to know it. With Dr. Them, not one health-related case has he ever had come before him because of gas drilling. That's incredible. And that message needs to get to Como. And also Dr. Zucker. It's something we have to keep going. We need the numbers. Thank you for your support. And let's keep things going. Thank you.
And you know, we've been fighting regulations, putting a spotlight, using the budget. We have used the budget over the years to hold some of these agencies accountable, and we have decreased the amount of discretionary spending in Washington. Now that there's a whole issue of mandatory auto spending, all that. We'll get into that maybe another day. But one of the things I wanted to share with you, one of the reasons we went down the path that we did when I came up with the Defense of Property Rights Act was not only to do what's fair for you as a landowner, and look at the Constitution and make sure that when the government acts and it takes your property, you get compensated for that loss to your property, but for that right being taken. But my hope is that, remember, these are governments that are going to take government action and that are going to have to compensate you through government resources for them taking your property. Government resources are taxpayer dollars. So I've had people come to the town hall on the left and they're yelling at me, what are you talking, you're always talking about downsizing government and not putting the burden on the taxpayer. Well, my thought process is this. First of all, it's the right thing to do because it's your property that's been taken by the government, and the Constitution tells us we should do it. But also, could you imagine the conversation that would be held up in Albany if Governor Cuomo, as he's walking out to make the final decision, had to say, oh my God, Town Reed's Defense of Property Rights Act is now on the books across the country? We gotta take that into consideration, because if we take away and we ban the development of this natural gas right, it's gonna cost us $50 billion. $50 billion. Do you think Governor Cuomo may have had a different calculation at the end of the day if he had to go out to the taxpayer and say, you know what? I just increased the budget $50 billion or $40 billion because we gotta compensate these people for taking their property. That's the point. Niagara Falls, Canada. That's the point, is that we are gonna get government to start thinking before it just unilaterally goes, I'm gonna pass a law. I'm gonna pass a law and there's gonna be no consequences to it. Because right now, you don't have the right to pursue this compensation when the government acts by regulatory overreach. And that's one of the things we're trying to accomplish with this bill.
How can we move that along, your defense of property rights?
So where we're at, and it's a great question. The question is, how can we move the Defense of Property Rights Act along? We need help. We need help on the grassroots, most importantly. We need local board resolutions, county resolutions, contacting our office, joining us on Facebook, contacting all your friends across the country, because this isn't just about natural gas. This is about an overreach of government at all levels that are taking property rights left and right. As I deal with my Western colleagues out in the Western states, I can tell you the horror stories that we've been dealing with under the Endangered Species Act, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. I mean, they are taking whole tracts of lands and ability to use land, and there's no way for these individuals to go get compensation. So we need that grassroots effort. The other thing that we need is whatever you can do to share the idea with other people you know in elected office, because I'm working with these guys, I'm going to be working with other folks to have duplicate legislation drafted in other states, other members, other local officials, so that we can all work together in the same direction. But we are at the early stage of this. This is a very early process, and this is at its infant stage. So it's a long road ahead. I'm not going to raise your expectation and tell you that this is a winner and that President Obama is going to sign this into law. I don't see that happening. But what I do see happening is that as this thing is getting more and more traction, and we've had national attention on it, it will grow because they can't fight it. It's the right thing to do. It's based on the Constitution. And even the left, when I've had those arguments, have said, I guess I can't argue with you any further.
Tom, would you put together a draft template of a suggested resolution that we can carry into town and village halls?
And we have it, and we will get it to whoever asks, and we can send it out. We'll put it on the website. Actually, I was just with the Allegheny, New York County legislature yesterday, and I believe they're going to be the first county that officially takes the resolution up and passes it and leads the charge in the nation.
Hey, Tom.
Yep.
Also, like to thank you on your HR 50 and your addition that you put in as far as taking property owners' rights. And whenever government seems to expand, that now they have to take into account the property value, the property owner's rights.
What he's referring to is we had an amendment that got signed, that got passed on the House, that we went to the floor, and that got incorporated into the bill, that now the agencies have to take the calculation of impact on property rights into consideration in the legislation as in. And when we did that, it caught so many people off guard, but actually at the end of the day, they're like, oh, we can't argue with that. That seems reasonable. So we're on the right track, and we're holding them accountable.
Also, to help Senator Reed's bill along, again, remember, we have the two letters out front here that can be signed. One of those is directly relevant to his bill. Make sure you sign those and take some home with you. Make copies of them and give them to your family and friends to have them sign and send in. Also, sign up for the JLC newsletter. As events progress with it, we will be putting more information out about it. Work with your local coalition. They'll be putting information out about it. So please stay in communication with our groups, and we'll help you to help Senator Reed too. So we had a question over here. Did you have something?
Well, just real quick on the regulation aspect of especially in New York, which is very frustrating. In New York State alone, we have 49,000 pages of rules and regulations. If you were to take this sheet of paper and stretch it out, it would stretch out 4.4 miles or 76 football fields. And that's the type of thing that becomes frustrating, especially when you talk about small business owners and people who want to create jobs, just from that perspective. And then you have a program like Startup New York, which basically picks winners and losers. Unless you're around a college campus or a community college, you're not going to benefit. What's that message? I mean, the promise behind Startup New York makes sense. You tax too much, we regulate too much. Unfortunately, it does nothing to help the small business person on Market Street in Corning, or Liberty Street in Bath, or Main Street in Cornell, or wherever you may be. And I think it just sends the wrong message to these people who have been there for decades, raising a family, trying to provide a living to their employees. But then someone else can come in new and just be on a college campus, and then they're not going to pay any taxes about it. That just sends the wrong message, I think, overall. And the statistics have proven what Startup New York, in my opinion, has been a failure. I think a lot of people have. And particularly to the gas industry, when you talk about regulations, before they even went into the moratorium, New York State had the strongest regulations in the entire country. And then when they went through the review process, and then everyone went through the SGEIS, the draft was going to make it even stronger. And everyone said we need, make sure we have regulations in place to protect our water supply and that it's done properly. That's why it's so frustrating and aggravating that you have 30 plus other states that are doing it, and we're sitting on the sidelines when you have an abundance of natural gas on our feet, which if we tap that, it would transform our upstate economy particularly, and we'd have a tremendous amount of jobs. We'd have a tremendous amount of tax revenue going into our school districts, into our municipalities because of the tax structure. We'd be revitalizing our manufacturing base because we'd have energy independence. And we'd be putting money in your pockets because you're the landowners and you deserve to be able to tap the resources that are under your feet. So that's why this whole process has been particularly angering for, I know it's angering for you, it's angering for us too, and that's why we're just so frustrated. We're going to continue the fight. We're going to continue, I think, bills like Tom's, I think keeping the pressure up, keeping attention on the issue. We can't just walk away. When you walk away, you say they win. And it might take longer than we thought we'd want to get there, and it's certainly taken longer already, but we can't walk away. We have to keep fighting because at the end of the day, this abundance of natural resources that we need to tap into, and it's going to make us more competitive, and it's the right thing for us to do. So.
Yeah, this question's for Congressman Reed. There's been some activity in the U.S. Senate. Last July 31st of last year, they came out with a 92-page report that it was basically about the billionaires in these foundations, and they named the Tides Foundation, the Schmidt Foundation, the Park Foundation over here in Ithaca. You know where I'm headed with this, don't you? And it's all about these nonprofit groups like Citizen Action, Common Cause, SNIPER, and how they're nothing more than pit bulls, puppets, and proxies for these billionaires that run these foundations. Like Ms. Gomer over in Ithaca at the Park Foundation, they're worth like $375 million. And that pales in comparison to the Rockefellers and William Penn, that they're over $1 billion. And they're using all these groups, and what was discussed before about how, you yourself, Congressman, you mentioned the organization, that's what's driving it. So my question is, do you have any knowledge of what's going on in the U.S. Senate, or do you have any knowledge if there's been a similar action? Now, it was in the Environmental and Public Works in the Senate, and it's chaired by Senator James Inhofe. I'd like to know what's going on in the U.S. Congress in a similar action, because unless we break the backs of these foundations in New York State, we're going to permanently lose our land. Those foundations, they've got to be stopped. And they've got to stop this misinformation campaign that they've waged now for 6 years. Because if we don't break their backs, we're done.
Very familiar with the issue, very familiar with, in particular, the Park Foundation, obviously having Ithaca, having Tompkins County in the district. They've been very friendly to us. That's a joke, everyone. But what's going on in the Senate and what's going on the House, and I serve on the Ways and Means Committee, which has oversight over our tax code, which has oversight over the IRS, and we're really asking the questions as to C1, 3, and 4 organizations. And you're getting right to it. And Senator Inhofe and I have talked about this. Senator's from Oklahoma. He's a good leader on the energy issues. And what we're trying to do is to make sure that those organizations are not targeted, or abused the way that you're referencing. Because if you remember when we had the conservative groups that were targeted by the IRS, where they were going after ideology, it's a similar C4 designation, C3 designation that was at issue there that we're dealing with. So all we're looking for, and to be perfectly honest with you, is just a fair shake. Is that make sure that there's no games being played by these guys, that there's no games being played to hide behind the C4, C3 designation and get the benefit of the not-for-profit status, and make sure that the IRS is not enhancing one organization because of their ideology that they may agree with, because it's more of their ideology, and then target the conservative groups because they disagree with them on ideology. To me, that's fundamentally wrong. If you talk about being un-American, if you have the IRS attacking you because of what you believe, that's not America any longer, and I share that concern, and that's what we're going to continue to go forward on. So the spotlight is there. We're joining with our Senate partners, and stay tuned because we're really trying to put a spotlight on this area that could be potentially abused. Don't lose sight of the power of social media. Please network, share your Facebook friends, your tweet handle, all that stuff. I can't tell you how important that communication capability is. So share the context, invite your friends to share that information, go to the landowners, go to our website, go to Doug's website, go to Tom and Phil's website, because the more that, it's like a multiplier. You start with 1, 2, 3, 10, next thing you're up to 20,000, 100,000, a million, couple tens of millions of followers. That will get national attention, and that's the way to spread the message.
I'm part of the JLC leadership team, and to answer the gentleman's question, we put out 2 press releases prior to this meeting, and you can see the attention it got. So a homework assignment for each and every one of you here is go home, look up the number for your local TV station, and put them on the spot and say, why weren't you here? Once they hear from you, they'll start responding.
Love to drag you into the technical conversation. That's where they want you. But if you talk about the basic good news of energy development or whatever that we're talking about, they can't dispute that. You know, one of the best things as a commissioner I ever got to do was spend time with the Secret Service agent that guarded Ronald Reagan all 8 years of his presidency. And I think, what would Reagan do? Well, what did he do to Mr. Libya there? He whistled the tomahawk down his tent. You know, and the SALT II treaties, he got up and walked out. And he fired the air traffic controllers. And this guy confirmed, he was there with him in Reykjavik, he was there when he fired. We need leaders. And again, I'm gonna, I don't know the other 2 gentlemen. I know Congressman Reed, I like him, he does a good job, I follow his voting record. But you gotta scare the living hell out of elected officials, and the only way to do it is to raise money and put candidates against them.
Frank on federal land.
And you know, the other thing is this is assault on rural America, by the way, what's going on across, this isn't in New York State. You guys are I travel all over the country, and they look at you guys, and they're very sad. What's going on in Colorado, Congressman Pierce out in New Mexico, you talk about, because they're going to come after you with environmental stuff. It's not over. Don't compromise, don't give up, don't bend. You know what he did? The National Forest, I can't remember exactly what the issue was, but it had to do with timbering or natural resources of some sort. He grabbed a chainsaw, went down and cut the first tree down. And he said, take me to jail. And that's the kind of stuff that we need to do. What got me into politics was they tried public taking on my family property for private use. That was before Kilo versus New London. Stay vigilant. I can't emphasize for you folks enough. What can you do? Raise money. Fund pro-energy candidates, pro-growth, pro-jobs. And just look at it this way, because I know in Pennsylvania, 3/4 of the land mass is in Marcellus. $11 million is what's getting in the red if you look at that map. People have money to contribute. Rural America can have a voice, but you're going to have a voice by finding and funding and electing leaders. Our country is void of leadership right now. And and when we go back to energy, these Middle Eastern, what they're doing, buying the bullet of the 12-year-old kid that pumped the shell in the back of the guy's head, the hostage, that wasn't bought by Jihad Jelly Month, the Jelly of the Month Club dudes. That was bought by Middle Eastern Energy. And before we go, I applaud what you guys are doing, but stay strong and stay vigilant, please.